My boys. Uh, yeah, to get straight into it, man, we gotta sort our lives out. We gotta really criticize ourselves, before we criticize each other. You know, it's very easy for me to sit here and be like, hey, you know what? I want you to change your life and you to change your life, and then I'm chilling and nothing's happening on my end, and then you find that then the guys are looking at me like, well, what the hell are you doing? And it's like, well, that's a good question, So again, I'm trying to do what I can do for myself, and I just want someone else to at least do the same or to try and think about it, especially again, as gents, if you look at our lifespan between the ages of birth and like 18, we're pretty much similar to women in the sense that everything is kind of already planned for you. This is obviously for a typical guy, typical girl. So you find that you go to kindergarten, you go to primary school, you go to high school, and then at about 18 you kind of then everyone branches off and everyone kind of does different stuff. So that's when we kind of like all in a pack and we all kind of little lab rats, and we kind of walking around and we know where to go there, and then we go here, and then from this class to that class, and then things are like that. And then you find that at 18, between 18 and 30, that's where the differences come in, especially amongst us and women, is you find that then we don't really have a purpose, man. We just, you can do whatever you want as a guy between 18 and death. You're not really, genetics doesn't bind you. Uh, Society doesn't really bind us. It's like, well, I can have 30 kids if I want. Like, doesn't matter, Or I can be the CEO of a company. I've got all the time in the world. Doesn't matter. I don't have to start a family, and if I do, it's my choosing. There's always going to be a woman that's going to be young enough to make kids. So that's what we kind of have to understand, is that for women it's very different. Women again from 0 to about 18, we all kind of in the same group, and then you find that between 18 and 30 or 18 and 35 is kind of when they really are at their prime in terms of having a kid or having kids. So that's when they can really start families. So that's an important time for them. That's why they need to ask specific questions when you do come and approach them and you want to be with them. That's why they want to make sure, listen, are you coming in for games or are you trying to be serious? Because I don't have time like you do. And then we get mad at that, like, oh my gosh, why are you asking such dumb questions? It's like, no, bro, it's not dumb at all. It's really, it's like if it was your child, you would want your daughter to ask the same question to every single man. So then why don't you understand it when it's someone else's child? So basically, women between 18 and 35, they need to kind of plan out their lives. If either they're going to want a high-end career job or they're going to have a family. And it's very difficult to have a family and have a high-end career, or to at least be a good mother, because that high-end career, you're competing with men that have nothing to do or men that have all the time in the world. So it's very, very difficult to make it in careers like that, especially if you have a child. So it's already tough enough to go up against men without having a kid. So how much more when you have a child? So again, like I say, guys, we need to understand that. We need to understand that it's vitally important for us to get our lives together individually. You don't have to speak to the groups before we speaking with each other, kind of thing. Speak to yourself, criticize yourself, question things, question things that our uncles and our uh, brothers and our dads didn't, or granddads as well, didn't quite have the guile to question why there's certain cultural norms and certain cultural things. Just because you're benefiting doesn't mean that you shouldn't question it. Just because you're in a situation whereby you're a guy and it's like, well, you know what, it's not really for me. I'm fine. I'm getting it. I'm benefiting from it, so I won't ask. Then it's like, well, that's why your mom or that's why your sisters and your aunts aren't getting it. That's why they're resentful. That's why the way that they act, because your dad or your uncle felt the same way. So it's like, well, you have the power then to actually change the problems as because of the situation that you're in. So it's very important to not just think about yourself in situations like that, but think about the impact that it has amongst everyone else. And again, like I said, we don't have to, right? We don't have to do that. We don't have to question stuff. It's easy to just let it go, but then when is it going to change? Because then how's it going to be for your daughter? How's it going to be for your son? So you really need to have like a kind of a global thought process into it, but at the same time look within yourself to kind of change things. So, and if you just briefly again, if you look at the lifespan of a woman between the age, like I said, between the ages of birth and 18, they kind of, everyone's kind of the same, and then from 18 to 35 they need to make decisions about life. That is probably one of the hardest things that they can do. And you find that then the one thing that you want to teach your kids as well is to tell them, listen, if you want a high-end job or you want a high-end career, it's better not to have a child.